Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the Magic Show. This week's show is just too scatterbrained to stay on one topic. I haven't ranted about anything in weeks and now it's time to dish. On this week's episode we go over Standard, Grand Prix Daytona, the best articles from the past few weeks, the World Championships, a telephone interview with Worth Wollpert, head of Magic Digital, and more. Let's go.
And the guns of Navarone, sticks and stones might break my skin and bones. The guns of Navarone.
In this week's first segment, we take a look at Standard. Ah, yes, good old Standard. How you been? I've been so focused on Extended and the wacky invitational formats that I returned to the States being flooded by new decks. Now, I know I'm not the only one who didn't really believe Elves was a winning deck, that it was merely a fluke in the Star City Games $1,000 open radar, but no, it's here and it's fearsome. I pity the fool who doesn't respect 8 walking, talking, glorious anthems in one deck. However, easily the most interesting deck was Kenny Mayer's Makeshift Command. This abuses one of the coolest cards from Lorwyn, Makeshift Mannequin, and a host of tournament-winning synergies such as playing cards that draw other cards, cards that win extended tournaments, and the new set's Remand, and cards that are generally scary and tend to win games. Too cool. However, such a deck isn't unstoppable. Thanks to our Tier 2 metagame, no deck is truly dominating, which allows some awesome decks like Guillaume Wafotapa's Mono Blue Control, aka Sonic Boom. It kills with Guile. I mean, do you have any idea how many times I've been pwned by high schoolers abusing Guile back in the day in the original Street Fighter 2? It was absurd. Finally, I think I've talked myself to death of Tarmogoyf. Yes, he's the best creature since blah, blah, blah. I've officially cornered the market on chase rares to gush about. Of course, that doesn't stop the naysayers from telling us that Cash Seas and Tarmogoyf are the end of Magic, but whatever. Chase rares are chased for a reason. They're just better cards. The expense of playing Magic is well known, quit ya bitchin'. Besides, Morningtide is just around the corner.
If only you could see.
So I've missed a few Grand Prix, but I have to give a few shout-outs to those who did well. Firstly, to my boy Tillman Bragg, one hell of a Magic player, nice to see at the top of the standings where he belongs. He whipped me something awful in a recent Lorwyn Grand Prix trial, only to drop before top 8 to secure his kick-ass rating and buys in Daytona. I'm glad they served him well. Otherwise, we have the always awesome Zach Hill rocking 10th place, P to the Chapin enjoying a healthy 34th position, and our own Kenji Hey Yu Samura enjoying a healthy $300 for 23rd place. It's always nice to see the best drafting the latest set, and this one was no different. The winner did the very Mike Crone-like maneuver of drafting the color everyone was avoiding, green, and coupled with the oft-hated white, he blazed straight to victory on the back of dual Oblivion Rings and 3, count on 3, Cloud Crone Oak. Now that's what I call playing with tree folk power. Man, you miss a few weeks of Magic and suddenly there's good reads all around. Let's highlight a few. First up is Richard Feldman's One Game. Unbelievably good. Another Feldman classic that will make you better at Magic. Now call me a fanboy, but it's just that good. Here's a quote from the beginning of the article. Quote, at GP Columbus, I was 801 coming into day 2 and paired against Paul Cheon. I knew who he was, he knew who I was, and we started off with some light banter before shuffling up, getting our game faces on, and starting to battle. As we went through our sideboarding motions after game 1, Paul cocked his head to the side and wondered aloud, what's the creature type on Deranged Hermit? Elf, right? He called the judge over to verify this, then continued sideboarding. Now expecting Engineered Plague, I added in my enchantment removal and shuffled up for game 2. Paul Cheon did not even play Engineered Plague at that tournament. Gotta love it, folks. Classic Feldman. Lastly, on the premium side of things, allow me to pimp the one and only Mike Flores, a guy who has given me plenty to make fun of over the past year and yet lands another ass kicker on us while I'm busy showing you Kenji all drunkified. In Mike Flores' How to Win a PTQ article, here's a choice quote. Quote, to the best of my experience, you have to approach the game with the mentality that it is your divine right to win the tournament if it is your goal to win the tournament. I've written before about Mercy. Mercy is doomed to the serious tournament player. If you want to learn more about Mercy, bringing the best deck and how the best win PTQs, then this is your article. Just awesome stuff. On the free side, here's one you shouldn't have missed. Inside SCG, The Road Warrior / The Real Deal by Ben Blywis and Chris Walterek. You best thank your lucky stars that Ben Blywis is around, because he brings some of the freshest, most insightful writing in the game. This time he tackles two incredibly interesting subjects. First, how Future Sight is the best set in 10 years to open just for singles. But the most interesting revelation came when he highlighted a recent GameSpy interview with Worth Wollpert, former pro and current head of Magic Digital. This means he's in charge of Magic Online, and he said, well, I do have this show thing, and how about I just, give Worth a call and ask him about it myself. So can you describe your role in Wizards of the Coast for those who may be a little bit unfamiliar with yourself?
Sure. My actual title is brand manager for Magic Digital. For now, I'm the brand manager, basically, of Magic Online, and all that entails.
Can you tell me how Masters Edition has been received?
Yeah, it's been really a big success, I think. We had some targets internally, as far as what we thought it was going to do. It absolutely exceeded our expectations. Actually, I had, some numbers budgeted for revenue based on Masters sales for the whole year, and we released it in September, and we had already beaten the year's numbers by the middle of October, actually like the second week of October. So, all of the sales from October to the end of the year are just over and above what we thought we would do in 2007. So players have really, really responded well to it.
That's awesome. And I just read something about Masters Edition 2. Do you have any news on that?
No official announcement has been made yet, but I've said all along that I knew this was going to be a popular thing we did, and I knew that once the players got a taste of it and kind of got a feel for what was coming, that they would buy it and kind of speak with their wallets, if you will. And if that was the case, that we would always consider doing something like this again. And I think all of those things happened and then some, and so that at some point in 2008 there will definitely be a Masters Edition 2, probably around the same time next year.
Will the hard and fast rule of only reissuing cards printed before Mirage still be in effect?
I think that's up for a little bit of debate. I will say that after having played Masters Edition 1 online in Limited, it definitely could use some help. And with that said, I think we may take the tack of, printing some cards, perhaps that do appear in later sets, but stuff that makes Limited better, and try to use alternate art, maybe that's not available on Magic Online. Card like Disenchant, but use the alpha art. That's kind of example that I'm talking about.
Sure. So does this mean that you're still planning on releasing Mercadian Masks and Urza's Block one day in Magic Online?
Yeah, it's funny you asked about Masks first, because everybody's first question to me is, when can I get Urza's Saga? And then their next question is, when can I get Tempest? I was going through my long-term strategic planning stuff the other day, and I saw an opportunity in 2009 for me to actually write in Urza's Saga somewhere on the release calendar. I can't honestly remember what month it was, but if everything goes as scheduled, Tempest and Stronghold will be next year, and Exodus will probably follow in 2009, although the timing is still up in the air, but which would mean Urza's Saga at some point also in 2009.
So I wanted to, the sort of impetus for this whole thing was that you were quoted recently in Ben Blywis's article. You said from your GameSpy interview you did a few months ago, you said, quote, without getting into specific numbers, North American MTG versus Magic Online, the online game is somewhere between 30 to 50% of the total Magic business, unquote. And you said this was taken out of context. Would you mind clarifying that?
What I meant by the quote was that Magic Online, depending on which forecast you use, depending on if we're talking about next year's numbers or this year's numbers or last year's numbers, I mean, you can make it so that it's anywhere between, I said 30 to 50, that was kind of off the top of my head. It's really more like 25 to 40% of the North American Magic paper business, not the worldwide Magic business. And so the quote's pretty close to accurate if you are talking about just the North American business. A lot of people, understandably, take that to mean Magic Online is equal to half of all of the revenue that we sell, worldwide, which is just definitely not the case.
During the Lorwyn release event, drafting was shut down during North American daylight hours, and replays were disabled. Will this become a common occurrence to assist in server load until the new version arrives?
I guess the best answer to that right now is I hope not. It's really, we're caught between a rock and a hard place. Two real reasons. One, Lorwyn has just been immensely popular, much more so than, say, Future Sight or Planar Chaos proved to be. at the end of the day, Magic Online as a platform, 2.5, is hampered by the fact that it just can't support sheer players. It's the folks that are on it, like all of the actions that they take perform some amount of varying degrees of stress on the system. And when you have release events running and drafts going all at the same time, you have a bunch of Magic players, Magic Online players, who understandably want to be on and playing. And when you get, above that 3,000, 2,800, 3,000 level, then it just gets really unpredictable and what's going to happen with serviceability behavior and whatnot. And it's either we did what we did or nobody gets to play because all we're doing is crashing the whole time. So I understand it would suck for those folks who kind of got shut out for the whatever it was, 10-hour window from noon to 10 or so Pacific. And I understand that that's bad. But, also, Lorwyn's going to be here. You'll have Lorwyn drafts for another 3+ months. And I hope that folks can kind of take with a grain of salt that we really had to make a tough decision there and make the best one for all of our customers so that everybody got to play some rather than everyone getting to play none. Also, I should say, in retrospect, somebody had a great idea on the forums, and I don't remember who it was. I'd love to give them credit for it right now. But what we probably should have done, and when I say we, it's really me, I should have just said that we should sprinkle some draft days into the release event schedule. So, you know what I mean was, like, we should have just extended release events out for 4 days, but in the middle of those days, shut off release events and just put up draft queues.
Wow, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it really was, and I wish I'd have thought of it, 2 weeks ago or whatever. But I think if we have to go through this again, I would definitely suspect that we'll do something like that. Hopefully, with the amount of progress on V3 that I've seen in the last few months, we may indeed even have V3 out the door by the time Morningtide comes, in which case this should not be an issue.
Well, of course, that segues right into my next question. Noticed that you updated the version 3 blog last Tuesday with a whole bunch of project statuses that included the words final and complete. May we actually be using version 3 before 2008 is over?
Before 2008, certainly. I mean, my goodness, if it's not before 2008, I need a new job. But I really have contended this whole time regarding 3.0 that once we fix the stability issues, a lot of other stuff just goes away. A lot of our other problems just go away. Like our game support guys don't have to deal with refunds constantly. Don't have to deal with crashes constantly. They can focus on making the customer experience better. Our dev guys don't have to keep analyzing what's going wrong, and they can kind of fix the bugs that there are, and also put more effort into features and new stuff and cool things, making Magic Online better rather than fixing what's broken. It's also for the fact that we get to focus our entire company's resources on one platform. I mean, right now the dev guys downstairs, they're kind of split up into different teams since we obviously need to support the 2.5 system, code card sets for that, fix bugs, do builds, weekly maintenance, that kind of stuff. So, the sooner we get everybody in the company focused on one platform, that'd be V3, the better off we'll be, because we'll be able to react faster, fix stuff faster, make stuff cooler, etc., etc.
What features are must-haves for you that you will not launch the game without?
Obviously, we need to have 8-man drafts working. That's number one. There's some stuff that's important to us, not so important to you guys, that we consider to be a must-have, like critical system recovery, maintenance recovery. Essentially, that means refunding, auto-refunding when the system goes down, being able to report correctly who is in what match and what refunds need to get issued, financial reporting, both the ability to take money, report on money, etc., that kind of stuff, boring back-end stuff. Mm-hmm. And PEs also are on the must-have list. So we need to have essentially the premier event functionality that we've got right now with 2.5 minus the crashes. That's how I've been saying it. I mean, other than that, not a whole lot. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I want that I'm willing to launch without because I know we'll get there soon, and I know once we do launch, like I said earlier, we'll have everybody focused on one platform, and we'll be a lot more nimble and better able to react.
Or how important do you consider bots to be in the Magic Online economy, and how important is it to have those bots working at the launch of version 3?
That's a good question. I think to have bots around is important for a couple different reasons. One is, and the main one is, the drafters and the constructed players have this symbiotic relationship, whether they realize it or not. And I think a lot of what facilitates that relationship is achieved by having bots around, so that when drafters are, because there's a lot of people who all they do is 8-man queue draft, and they don't really have any use for their their third time of life, or maybe even their fifth time of life. You know what I mean? And so when they want to get rid of that, they want to do so in an efficient manner, and they want to get the most for their, like anybody else, we want to get the most for their cards. And I think bots, with the lack of an auction house or persistent trading, offline trading, whatever you want to call it, style system, the bots perform that function in a really good way. Really, what Magic Online is about to me is convenience, and I think the bot thing really illustrates this well. It's like most of the players that I consider my customers have less time than they do money. And that's not to say that they're not price conscious, because everybody's price conscious. But it's that they would rather spend their time actually playing Magic and have as many hoops removed from me logging on till I'm in a game doing what I want to do, whether it's drafting, playing extended, playing casual, playing multiplayer, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Just as many hoops removed as you can possibly have, and that's what will make their best experience. And that really comes down to convenience, and I think bots provide that. So as far as your question, like, what do I think about V3? Yeah, I mean, bots will be around. I think, I don't want to go as far as to say that we're going to support bots or whatever, anything beyond what we probably do now. But, and even someday in the future, I'd like to have a system where I can post my Force of Will and go to bed, and then wake up in the morning, and then there's 16 tickets in my mailbox, or 4 packs of Lorwyn, or whatever.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the Magic community before we go?
I would like to say to everybody who's kind of put up with us over the last, whatever it's been, with this horrible lags and crashes and such, who've stuck with us here, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I want to say thanks to all those folks, and I really appreciate it. I certainly understand if I was a player, there's things that would have happened in the last couple of years that would really frustrate me. Heck, I'm frustrated as it is, trying to make this thing better every day, and I really appreciate the loyal people who have stuck with us, and even the ones who've said, you know what, I've had it for now, but I'll give you guys a shot when you fix V3 and launch something that you can be proud of, that I'll come back and give it a try, and I respect that position too. So I just wanted to thank everybody out there for their patience, essentially.
Fantastic. Well, thanks a lot, Worth. I really appreciate your time.
No problem, Evan. Thanks.
I want to thank Worth for his time this week and hope that we've all learned a little something about Magic Online's future. I know I feel a lot more positive regarding what may or may not be down the line, and hell, can you imagine Magic Online actually hitting something like 10,000 people at once? What is commonplace for massive multiplayer is a wet dream to the average Moto guy. We'll see what happens with this in the future. So that's another show, folks. I'd like to thank you for watching and implore that anyone going to Worlds who would have an extra spot on the floor for a Magic Geek, please get in contact with me. Brother needs a place to stay. So until next time, Magic players, when we do this all over again, this is Evan Irwin tapping the cards so you don't have to.